Good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are in the world, and thank you once again for joining another live stream brought to you by A Home in Italy. My name's David Benton, and together with my wife Silvana, we've been helping people buy, restore, and relocate to beautiful Italy. Thank you so much for joining in this evening. I've got absolutely no idea how many people are in, who's not in at the moment, because for some reason my software is not telling me that. Last week, if you joined us, we did have a couple of glitches where I disappeared for a minute. If that happens again, just bear with us. We do come back on. And also anybody that watched last week, accidentally, well, not accidentally, when I turned the stream off and went to my usual discussion with our producer, I'm calling him producer now, Tony, and I for some reason it carried on recording. So some of you folks were watching us again for some after everything had finished. So hopefully that won't happen again. Everything should run smoothly tonight. But if it doesn't, if I do go off for some strange reason, then just bear with us and we will come back. So tonight's subject, we are talking about the buying process made simple. I've written there. I want to try and cut it down into bite-sized pieces so you can understand how it works when you're buying a property here. Obviously, we can't go through all the contract details and all that kind of thing, but you know that we do that on different sessions here on a Thursday night anyway. But I'm just going to try and nail it down into sections to say this is what happens, this is what you should be doing, this is what you should be thinking about. So let us know where you are in the world. Give us a little bit of a comment on the bottom, and we can read out where people are from. We can have a look where everybody is. I can make sure that I'm not just sat here talking to myself or talking to Tony. So yeah, let us know where you are in the world, and I'll give you a few notices, and then we'll get on to tonight's subject. So the first notice that I want to tell people about is this one. A Home in Italy on the road, October 2023. We do talk about this quite a lot because we twice a year we run tours, which all year round we can take people property viewing. That's not a problem. You can contact me anytime to do that. But twice a year we actually take people on group tours. And these are excellent because you get together with a group of people that have got the same idea potentially as you of buying a property in Italy, maybe relocating and all the rest of it. What we do is we collect from a hotel in Pescara in the middle of Abruzzo, and for a couple of days we take you around to see properties, to see different areas and all that kind of thing. They're great. If I do say so myself, they are brilliant tours, and it's hosted by myself and also by Tony. You get to meet Domenico, who we work with in the Sulmona area. Wherever possible, my wife comes along as well. So they're just great. We have a good fun together. We eat together, have some great food and great wine. And as I say, you get to see the area, you get to see properties, and you get to ask us as many questions as you like. So I did mention before that the tours were on the 26th and the 27th of October. And but what we've decided is that we're still keeping those dates, but we've decided to add another tour in October. So we're also doing the 12th and the 13th. So I will be emailing everybody, and the 26th and 27th is pretty much is pretty much fully booked. However, some people on that have told me that they want to switch to the earlier tour if we do it. So I will be contacting people that have booked in to go on that tour and just see if you want to change it to the earlier dates. And anybody wanting to book either the 26th or the 12th, is it the 12th? Yeah, 12th or 13th, then send us an email. Send it to the info@ahomeinitaly.com, which no doubt Tony will put it on this ticker thing at the bottom when he wakes up, if he's not sat there drinking. And send us an email, then I will send you information about the theatres. Look, email info@ahomeinitaly.com. I'll send you information about the trip, and he's adding sound effects now, ladies and gentlemen. This is a little bit of fun. He does like to have his fun where possible. Where was I? I've completely lost my... Yes, I'll send you an email telling you all about the tour, and then you can go ahead and book it if you want to do it. So these are fantastic, I must say. But we will be doing 2 in October. So anybody that has already booked, don't worry, I can move the dates to the early one. I think there was a couple of people that wanted to change to the early one. We can do that with no problem. I will be in touch with you over the next couple of days. So That's the Robert saying Arizona. I'm waiting for October. Yes, looking forward to it. They really are great things. You'll definitely get a lot from it. Let's just quickly talk about what's coming up on the live streams over the next few weeks. So next week, I've slightly jigged things around a little bit. 15th of June, we're talking about fees and taxes. We're going to be talking about purchase fees and taxes, and we're going to be talking about yearly fees and taxes once you've actually bought your place over in Italy. So that's going to be a good one. The 22nd is Meet the Home Buyers. The strange thing with this, I try to do this every month. The last, I would say probably 90% of the sales that we're involved in at the moment, which thanks to everybody is probably our best year on record, I would say, it's just gone absolutely crazy with remote buyers. So I've got so many people that want to do this, but they've not even been out to see the property that they've bought yet. So it's actually a quite trying to get the Meet the Home Buyers sorted out from the most recent people without going back to people that bought last year. Is just crazy, because I say so many people are doing the remote purchasing. It's just unbelievable this year. But we are going to get some Meet the Home Buyers, and this is a couple that are in the middle of restoring as well. So I've spoken to them, and we can definitely do these dates. So that's going to be the 22nd. Then on the 29th, we've got the who thinks of these titles? The Big Massive Q&A. So that's basically where you can just come on and ask any questions that you like about, obviously, to do with Italy and buying a property and restoring and all the rest of it. But I will do my best to answer you as best that I can. Okay, and as I said, tonight's subject, the buying process made simple, which we will start in a second. Please let us know where you are in the world. I'm going to turn these off so Tony can put some more of the hellos up there and let us know where people are. I would like to be part of the October 12th and 13th. If you just send me an email to the info at, we will definitely add you to that tour. As I said, these are going to be, we're planning something a little bit different, I think, for the autumn ones. We're just deciding on a couple of things, but it's going to be well worth it. Okay, so let's start with my usual session that I like to do at the start of these live streams, and that's my little moaning session. Me and Tony's just been having a conversation. It sort of ties in to tonight's session, which is about the buying process, but this is sort of before you come out. And we've been talking about some of the comments that we get on YouTube videos and things like that, which I must say, sometimes I know people say you should just ignore things, but I can't help myself. I have to look at these things. And some of the comments, I would say some of the negative comments are always about the towns and villages. And it's almost like people just sort of like to have a moan about things. And look what it's put on alert. Dave's moaning moment. It is I like to have a little moan every now and then. I've got to have a moan, because when I'm here on the ground and seeing what I see, living where I live and showing people where I live and showing people the towns and villages that I love so much, and seeing how many people invest in these areas and how many people are blown away by these areas, to get some person sat behind a screen trying to give their 10 pence worth about the Italian way of life, the Italian economy, the Italian villages and things like that, it really does get to me. And I know some people, when they're coming out to view, and sometimes when I have conversations with people, especially people remote buying, I can understand there's, people will have certain worries about things. Some of the questions I get asked, I quite, I don't know, what can you say? I'm not going to say silly, because it's not that. Some people genuinely think a certain way, and the average person that writes negative comments hasn't got a clue what they're talking about. And they talk about these towns and villages as if they're dying off and as if everything's sort of going pear-shaped in Italy and all that kind of thing. It's almost like they would like to do it themselves, but haven't got the guts, or haven't got the, I don't know what it is, but they just love to say these things. And I know I shouldn't take it to heart. I do, because I've got a huge passion about these places. And I want to try and explain to you, before you come out viewing properties, how to sort of manage your expectations a little bit. Because lots of people will say, nobody lives in that town. They've never been there. They just look at my video and suddenly say something like that. And I just think to myself, if you understand the way Italian villages work, you imagine Italy is probably, we were saying earlier, probably a good, I would say 99%, maybe more, of towns and villages here have an historical center. I mean, how many countries in the world can say that? I know where I come from in the UK, the town where I was born doesn't have a historical center. It may have a few old buildings, but any historical part would have been demolished years ago, and maybe a big car park put up, and maybe a supermarket put up, and all the rest of it. Italy has maintained its historical centers because tourists, as we all know, flock to Italy because they love Italy, because of the atmosphere of these historical villages. And it's almost, you feel like saying to people, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to demolish all these old towns and just throw up a drive-through fast food on, I won't say the names, and maybe a couple of cinemas and all the rest of it? Why would we want to do that? Why would we want to live somewhere like that when we can live in a place that you wake up in the morning and it puts you in a good mood? We live in a place that when you walk around, the atmosphere, what these places do to you, you cannot explain on a photo, on a video, or anything until you come here and until you see things. And when we walk around historical centers, yes, it is true that there's some buildings that nobody lives in there. But if what people think they know about Italy is true, and things are dying off and this is happening and that's happening, why aren't there more things for sale? Why is it that I have to hunt properties for sale? The reason for it is because people have owned properties in Italy for years and years and years. Don't get mortgages on them. They've owned them. They've either built them or it's been in their families for hundreds of years, and it gets passed down and passed down and passed down, and it stays within families. And people hold on to them because it's a memory sometimes. People talk about the Italian people almost as if, oh, they need money, that the government's broke and all the rest of it. The government may be in some debt. It's still a top earning country. We're not talking about a country that has nothing. But the people are not. The people have, luckily, money. Between Italy and Greece, it's two of the least in, what would you say, public debt, actual personal debt. It's the two lowest in Europe and always has been. And you get these houses in the historical centre and people don't want to get rid of them. They want to keep them in their families. Maybe they use them for holidays. Maybe they use them, I don't know, I say just as a memory to go there every now and then. And it's sort of great comment. It's the vibe, the energy of the place. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And these historical centers, when you get some person writing these things and you just think, you've no idea what you're talking about. You need to come and experience things. These towns and villages, it's not that everything's boarded up and up for sale. That's a different thing. That's a village that is dying off. Unfortunately, what happens with some Italians is, well, lots of Italians, they don't want to live in the historical centers. They move, as Tony said to me earlier, they may move 50 meters down the road and get a mortgage on a modern apartment rather than taking granddad's townhouse. To me, it's a mad thing, but that's because they don't want that anymore. They don't want the old fashioned, but that's great for us. But what the councils and everything do is they keep these places going. They give the services to these places. The people are saying, let them stay in their own misery. That's true. Let them stay away. Let them stay far away from Bella Italia, because that's how I feel as well. We don't need them. We don't, because it's just negative rubbish. You need to come here. These towns have got great services in them. If they were dying off, they wouldn't have all these services. We were talking earlier, again, myself and Tony, about where we live in Palombaro. It's a small town. If you came here, you'd probably say, oh, this is dying off. I've no doubts that 50 years ago, there was probably 3 times the population. I understand that. I get that. I do understand that some people move away. But in this town, first of all, the location is brilliant. The scenery is just amazing. But we've got a restaurant on the inside of the village, a restaurant on the outside of the village. We've got a post office. We've got a chemist. We've got 2 doctors. We've got a bar. We've got a few, we've got 3 grocery shops. We've got a petrol station on the outside of the village. We have we have buses that pass by to pick our children up to take them to school from nursery age to 18. What else do you want out of life? I don't want a drive-through. I don't want whatever else. I can get that from other places if I really do want it. I want to be in these places that will knock your shoes off. Is that right? Socks or shoes, whatever, when you come to visit it. Like the last video I did in a place called Pacentro. You can't explain what these places are like because they're just, forget the magic of some of these theme parks and stuff like that. You've never experienced magic until you've been to some of these places and just walked through it. And whether there is whether it's nobody's there, if it's a cold February, maybe a bit wet, and February, I don't know, and you're walking through the streets and you see two people, or whether it's the bustling part, hot season of summer where people are sat outside the bars, the feeling that you get is just unbelievable. So if you want to live that kind of life, you know, people talk about in 19, what they're saying, by the time we get to 2050, the Italian population may have gone down by X%. So what? I've heard today on the news that in 2050 there may not be any ice left in the was it the North Pole or the South Pole, whatever it is. You know what we're talking about here? What are we really bothered about in our lives? Do we want to see a neighborhood suddenly changing and getting more violent and everything else? Is that all right just because people live there? Or do we want to live somewhere where every time you wake up, you just think, I'm lucky to be alive? And I know what I want. And I know the places that we choose and the towns that we choose, I choose for a reason. And I stand by every single video that I do, every single property that is on our website, because I know those places. I go to those places, and I'm happy to say to you to go to those places. And when you do buy these properties and you see me walking by in a year's time with other clients, I can hold my head up and say, speak to these people. These people have been here a year. Ask them what it's like here. Ask them, because just people making assumptions about a country or about people is just wrong. Simple as that. Okay. That's over with. And that was Tony's sound effect. Anyway, my wife says I should stop moaning on these streams. She says sometimes I come across as too, but I do it. Yeah, it does annoy me. But there you go. I'll stop moaning. Let's get on to tonight's subject. So we're 17 minutes in. Oops, that went a little bit. But you've got fast forward on your videos. You can always fast forward it if you don't like me rabbiting on. Just press them to whatever it is. To fast forward, 2 arrows, whatever. Okay, let's now talk about the buying process. Now, it is obviously a little bit more complicated than what I'm going to make out tonight, because I just want to try and, as I say, put it into bite-sized pieces, because I know that so many people will sort of think about their dream of owning a property in Italy, and then all of a sudden it's all about, okay, so we're going to buy this property, and then who checks the documents? How do we know that it's going to be legal? Do I need a lawyer? Do I need to slit? I wonder if they do this. Do they do surveys? Do they? And all of a sudden you get all these things going off in your head, and all I'm saying to you is just calm. Take it easy. Do it the Italian way. Piano, piano, slowly, slowly. Because you don't have to stress yourself out like that. Because that's what these Thursday evenings are all about, to try and make you understand that when you're working with the right people, I am going to push us a little bit as well during this evening, if I may, but it's not as complicated as what it seems. But what happens then is, at that moment, when you are stressed out and you're thinking, oh my God, I wonder if they do this. I wonder if Italy has this. I wonder if they check if there's any debts on the properties. I wonder if they actually check that they own the properties. Of course we do. Of course we do. It's not just sort of given out to you know, I'll sell you this property and nobody's got the faintest idea who it belongs to. It's not like that. Watch some of the legal document ones that we've done, the streaming sessions that we've done in the past. Go back on the YouTube channels and look at them. See how that kind of things work, how that kind of thing works. But what happens then is people get stressed out and they go straight to social media, and you write it in there, and then you've got the social media brigade coming on board to tell you every reason why you shouldn't be buying in Italy. And you know why they say that? Because they don't want you to buy in Italy, because they bought in Italy. Italy's theirs, belongs to them, not you. You can't come into this little clan. God forbid that you buy a house that's better than mine. So let's give them a few things to think about. Let's make life complicated. You know, you write in there, lots of people write saying, I really want to buy a property in Italy. Can you tell me the buying process? Then boom, you get all these people writing in there. And there's some brilliant comments that come out because people start talking about something completely different to what you actually asked for. So let's just go through stage by stage. First one, and I'm going to put this on the screen because I say it all the time. Codice fiscal. Without this, make a note of it. Write it down. Without this, you can't do anything. Nothing. Now, we can get a codice fiscal for you. There's a few ways of getting it. What it is, it's a tax code. Doesn't mean all of a sudden that Louise is saying, I'm from Yorkshire too, but want to buy a place based on your recommendation. Come over, Louise. I do love Yorkshire where I'm from, but yeah, come over here. Anyway, codice fiscal. It is a tax code. It's almost like an identification number as well, because you give up your ID. You don't give up your ID. You show your ID to the authorities, and they give you a codice fiscal. The codice fiscal is made up of letters and numbers that include your date of birth, include some of the letters from your names, includes different things like that. Now, I heard some people saying, just go on the internet and go onto a codice fiscal calculator, and that'll give you what your number will be. Don't do it, because that's not the way to do it. You have to do it properly. Now, I'm going to show you, because I always say there's two ways. You can go into, when you're here in Italy, you can go to the Agenzia dell'Entrata, which is like the tax office here, and get one yourself. But if you don't know the language and you've not made an appointment and all the rest of it, that's going to be difficult. You can ask somebody else to get one for you, but there are different ways to do it now. It's not as easy as what it was before. We luckily have still got a fast way of getting them, which is one of our many strengths. But the easiest way, the absolute easiest way, is to do it online. So I'm going to share my screen and show you, because some people say, I've heard you say that you can get them online. I've tried it and it doesn't work. Yes, it does work. Just try again. I'm going to show you now. So follow these simple instructions. You may as well do it now. Doesn't mean that you start paying tax now, but if you're definitely going to get a property over the next 6-8 months, whenever it is, once I've finished this live stream, do this. It's dead simple. So let me share the screen. This is where absolutely everything goes wrong. Here we go. Tony, can you just knock that ticker off for me a little bit at the bottom, just so I can concentrate more on what I'm supposed to be doing? And can you also give me the thumbs up that you can actually see me sharing the screen? He's giving me the thumbs up as well. He is good, isn't he? He does have his uses every now and then. So go into Google. We all know what Google is. And then type Italian consulate. Let's choose one. Italian consulate, and let's do the New York one. Okay. Why does that not come up? New York. Why have I got this other bit here? Let me get rid of that. Italian, I said this was easy, didn't I? Italian consulate, New York. Why all of a sudden has Google changed? What's this all about? Anyway, let's go and do this. Here we go. Now look out for this where it says esteri.it, because it will always be the first one that comes out, and it has this little bit of a star. Click on that one there. It even gives you a little picture of it as well. I don't understand why there's this other bit on the side here, but let me get rid of that. Here we go. Let's click on there. This is not going to work now. I know it's not. Now I've said all this. The little ticker is going round and round. Why is it going round and round, Tony? Tell me. Let's have a look. That one's not, he's throwing his hands in the air. Why is I know the internet's working. It's just trying to make me look stupid, isn't it? Let me try it again. Let's pick a different one. Maybe New York's gone to sleep. Let's try it. Let's do London. Here we go. Here we go again. It's always this, always starts with this, esteri.it. Let's do the London one. If this doesn't work, I'm going to cry. Here we go. So we're on their page. What do we do? In the top, every single Italian consulate is laid out like this. Go onto this top right part here, click on it, and write codice fiscale. Why is it so slow? It must be something to do because I'm sharing the screen. But anyway, here we go. Click the first thing that comes up, and that will then take us to the Codice Fiscal section. Now you will see that it's all in Italian. So if you like, you can go to the top right, which you can't see because of my logo, but just click on the EN. All simple stuff, isn't it? And it turns to English, and here it is. And then read, and it will tell you what you can do. And then it says applications for an Italian tax code can be submitted online by filling the online form. Now you have to do it at your local Italian consulate. But in this one, if you are in the UK, then you click on this, and there it is. You fill this in, and you click on next and follow the instructions, and it will tell you what you need to send in. It's as simple as that. Do that. Do it for each person. Let's just have another quick look to see if just want to do one more. I'm going to get New York going. Let's get back onto Google. Italian consulate, New York. If this doesn't work again, then I'll just leave it. Let's go to the first one. It looks like it's loading in now. Here we go. New York must have been having a break earlier. He says New York is still having a break. Anyway, I think you get the idea. I'm not gonna do this. Just make sure every single one is every single consulate is the same. I'm going to give this another second, and then I'm going to get rid of it. It's not going to work, is it? Okay, let's forget it. New York's decided that it doesn't want to give any more Codice Fiscals out. Right, so there you go. Simple as that. Just go onto Google, write Italian consulate in wherever it is, top right corner, write Codice Fiscal. I've already put that on the screen. Click the first link. Turn the language to English, and it will tell you. Some places will say that you have to fill out and send it in by email. You'll have to send probably a passport or something like that, and you probably have to send proof of address, so bill or something like that. And then that's a big start. You've got your Codice Fiscal. Without that, you can't do anything. It's as simple as that. So you need to get one of these. So you may as well do it now. Okay, then bank accounts. Lots of people say to me, do I need a bank account? Should I have a bank account? Go straight onto social media. Should I have a bank account? Then you get all these people say, don't go to this bank, go to this bank. I use these. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, God, I need to buy the property. Where does the money go? How do I get the money from here to there? How do I do all this? How do I... Calm down. Relax. In my opinion, before, getting a bank account used to be quite easy. We used to open accounts with no problem whatsoever for anybody, anywhere in the world. We used to send all the details off to a bank that we worked with for probably 12, 15 years and open a bank account. Now it is very, very difficult unless you're here. And even when you are here, some banks will still not do it. They don't understand the concept of somebody from abroad coming here and opening an account. Why should I give you an account? Where's the money coming from? Blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, and I never used to say this before, but in my opinion now, you do not need a bank account. Now, I'm going to answer this question first because it's a good question from Steve. How long does the Codice Fiscal last? It's forever. Once you've been given that Codice, once you've got that number, that's it. You don't get another one. So even if you change your name, even if you get married or anything like that, your Codice Fiscal is that. Obviously, if you were Italian, from birth to death, that's your Codice Fiscal. But if you apply for one now, that's with you, and it's yours for forever. Okay, so bank accounts. As I said, in the past, I always used to say, yes, get a bank account, definitely. Now, my thought on it is you don't need a bank account. You really don't. So then you're thinking, well, how do I get the money from A to B and all the rest of it? I'm sure some of you watched the live stream with the currency company. If you go back I'll probably, after this, I'll probably add a link to the description where you can set up an account with them ready to exchange your money from pounds, dollars, whatever it is, into euro. So I would say get a good relationship with a professional currency account. If you do want to know, I say, well, add it to the link anyway. But if you send me an email, info@homeanditaly.com, then I will tell you which one that and the person that I deal with was absolutely fantastic. So get that set up as well, just so you've got somewhere to hold your funds that are protected, and you can change it from whatever currency you've got into euros, so you're ready. The other reason why you don't need a bank account is because when you're buying the house, what you can do is send the money from your currency company or direct from your bank if you want to, if you prefer that. But for me, currency companies, FX companies as they're called, they just give you a much better rate. You send the money a week, 10 days before, or 2 weeks before you actually due to sign, to the notary's escrow account. So it's protected in there. The notary, if anything happens to the notary, that money is safeguarded. It can't be used to pay off debts or whatever else. That money is yours. So it goes into the notary's escrow account. Once the signing is done, then what happens is the notary will issue either a check or a banker's a bank draft, which is like a check, or they will send it by bank transfer to the owners. So it's perfectly safe. It's held in their account, and then it is released at the time of signing. So you don't need a bank account for that. So I know lots of people might be thinking, well, what about afterwards? What about when we've got bills and things like that to pay? In fact, look, Pete's just saying, do you need a bank account to pay utility bills? No, you don't. What I would say is for people like Pete, who I know is going to become a resident, is when you're here, then yeah, get a bank account, because why wouldn't you? You know, it's good to have a bank account. But when it comes to utilities and things like that, we offer services of changing all the names and getting the utility bills sorted out. Now, it may seem like a simple thing. As much as I do not like to pull Italy down, and I won't pull Italy down, changing the names on utilities is the pain of our lives. Well, luckily, my wife looks after that guy, because I would not have the patience to do it. It's a nightmare. So it's a service that we do offer. But once it's set up, what my wife then does is says to the company, whoever it is, the electric or whoever it is, when we get the bills, we don't want paper bills. Can you send it by email? You send it by email, and once it comes through there, it gives you the international bank code where you send the money direct to them. So you can just send it from your bank to them, or you can do it through an FX company, or there's other clever little cards that you can use. That's all. I'll let you know about that if you email me. Where you can have your own account set up on an app where you can pay things like bills with no problem at all and just send the money to these people. It's dead simple. It's I would use these cards for that kind of transfer. I would never use them for big transfers, but to pay the electric bill and pay the water bill, it's all done on an app on your telephone. Just change it from dollars to euros, or whichever currency you're in, to euros, and send them the money. It's simple. Now, some things that you can't pay, that you may not get a bill for, is things like the council tax, the yearly tax that you pay to the council. But that's only twice a year. So if you don't come out enough, then there are services that people offer to work these bills out for you, and then you just send it again using the IBAN number. So you don't need a bank account. Before, I was always for it. Now I really think it's a waste of money, because you do get charged for bank accounts. So what I would say is, get your codis fiscal, as I've said. Set up an account with the people who I'm going to put in the link below. It will take me 5 minutes after we finish this stream. I'll put the link in below. If you do want the guy's personal information, then send me an email to info@homeinitaly.com and I'll put you in touch. Or watch our live stream about saving money when it comes to foreign exchange, and then you'll get all the information that you need there. He's a great person, and we are going to be doing another webinar with him really soon as well. Just getting a question in. Is it much simpler if you are an EU citizen buying in Italy rather than a buyer from outside the EU? Not at all. Makes no difference. I do get asked, good question, because I do get asked that a lot. People will say, I'm going through my citizenship to become an Italian citizen. Is it better if I wait for them? Makes no difference. The only time that can benefit you is if you live somewhere like Canada, where unfortunately people can't buy a property in Italy at the moment for the next couple of years, until the Canadian government change their rules on foreigners buying there. Also Australia and New Zealand, there's different things that apply there. In those instances, yes, it is better to be an Italian citizen. But whether you're EU or now the UK is out of the EU, the US obviously is not in the EU, and other countries not, it makes no difference at all. The only time it changes, which I'll be going through next week when we're talking about taxes, is if you're becoming a resident. So whether you are an Italian citizen or a British citizen or a US citizen or an Australian, whatever, you all pay the same taxes. If you're becoming resident, then that's different altogether. Okay, so as I was saying, get your codis fiscal and then get ready with the FX company and follow the instruction, follow the person who I'm going to recommend because he's absolutely brilliant. Then you're set up when you actually arrive in Italy, because you'd be amazed at how many people and how many agents have no idea what to do when they're dealing with a foreign person. They just don't know what to do. And the worst thing that people then do is start signing contracts and start signing deposit contracts and things like that. Now, I'm not going to go into all the different contracts because there's a couple of them, but you can have like a proposal to buy, you can have a promise to buy. But the problem is, as soon as you sign these documents, your time starts ticking. So the first thing you want to make sure you've got your codis fiscal, you've got a way to send the money over there. So you can say to the agents, look, I'm doing it this way. This is how I'm doing it. And they will be able to handle that. But lots of people then get straight into the contracts. Let's sign it. I don't want to lose this. Sign it. And then they contact me and say, I've signed something. And now I've been told that I've got to come in front of the notary and sign the final act. Of course you do. That's what you have to do. You have to be here at the notary. You either have to be here in person or you have to sign a power of attorney. But there's no point. Life gets complicated when you don't ask the questions and make your contacts before you actually start doing this huge thing that you're about to do, which is spending quite a lot of money on a property in a foreign country. So you need to make sure that the person you're dealing with knows what they're doing, because you don't want to be getting stressed out about all these things, because it is simple. So codis fiscal, bank account. Am I going to be there for the signing? I know this is all before you found a house, but finding the house should be the enjoyable bit. Finding the house should be the bit where you can relax and think, I've done my homework, I've got everything set up. So you need to be asking yourself those questions. Am I going to be there for the signing? So you may say, well, how long does the signing take? Very rarely you can do it within a few weeks. We can do it and we have done it within a few weeks, many times, if everything's in place. But take it that it's going to take 2 or 3 months. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer if there's some problems with the documents that need resolving. So ask yourself that question. Am I going to be there for the signing, or do I need somebody to sign on my behalf? Now, we get involved in lots of sales, not just in Abruzzo. We get involved in lots of sales where people say, Dave, I'm buying a property in Tuscany or Puglia or wherever it may be, Calabria. I've not had any of the islands yet. So if somebody's thinking about buying, if somebody wants to buy in Sardinia, let me know, because I'm going there on holiday. You know, it'd be quite nice if somebody else would pay for the tickets. Anyway, probably shouldn't say that. But no, people will contact me and say, Dave, I'm buying a property here. I can't get back. I need to do a power of attorney, or can you help close this deal? We can do that with no problem at all. We have the services to handle that and do that all the time. But what you need to be asking yourself before you come out is, am I going to be there? Do I need Dave to help me with this at the end? Or do I need that trustworthy agent or whoever your contact is over here to do the power of attorney? Because it can be done once you get back to wherever you live. That's not a problem. But if you've got the time, it is easier if you can do it here in Italy, because then you leave the power of attorney. Let's say you were coming to me and saying, you know, can I leave the power of attorney so I know that it's done while it's here? We can do that. So you can do it either way, but you need to be prepared. You need to check with the agent or whoever you're dealing with. Are they used to doing things like that? Do they know how it works? It is a simple process. Remote buying is number one at the moment. Everybody is doing it. It's unbelievable. So we've got the process off to a T now. But don't presume everybody else has, because again, somebody else might say, what do you mean you're going back to America? And no, you need to stay here. We don't know how to do the power of it, because it's not really part of their usual job. Usually here in Italy, it's a simple process. I go to the estate agent, or it may be a private seller or whoever it is. But let's say I've gone to an estate agent. They've shown me a house. I like the house. I go to the estate agent, sign a contract that says, I would like to buy the house. I'll give them 100,000 euros. Here's a check for 5,000. If they accept it, then they can have the 5,000. They sign the contract. We're legally binding. The agent says, thank you very much. Give me my commission. The property owners make sure all the documents are in order and all the rest of it. I get ready. I book the notary, get everything ready. The property owners gives us the document back. We send it to the notary. We both go to the notary. Finished. Simple. That's how they work. Anything outside of that, some agents will be like, oh, I'm not really quite sure. But what's happening is your time's ticking. because you've signed a contract and all of a sudden you realize you've got 2 weeks and you need to get back here, or you've got 3 weeks, you need to get back here. These things need to be prepared before. So think about it. Am I going to be there? Who can I trust? Who's going to do this for me? Now, some people then would say, where does the part come into it? Because I always talk about geometers. We use, I've said this many times, we use a geometer who, for me, he's fantastic. He is literally worth his weight in gold. He doesn't weigh very much, so you wouldn't get much gold out of him, but he's fantastic. So when would you sort of start using a geometer? Now, you don't have to use a geometer, just in the same way you don't have to use a lawyer, because people may think, okay, I'm just going to go to a lawyer. That's the easiest thing. Lawyers don't do conveyancing here. Lawyers are not the one that take care of the contracts and the finishing. Notaries do that. You need a notary. I'm not saying don't go to a lawyer. I didn't go to a lawyer, and most of my clients don't. Not because I've got something to hide, but because I use a geometer that costs much less, a lot less, that's there right to the very end, right at the signing, is sat there in the office and charges probably a fifth of what some of the lawyers are charging at the moment. It's just, that's the reality of it. That's the truth. Now, what a lawyer would do would ask who the geometer is, because they want these documents. The geometers they are like surveyors, but they will look at the documents, all the documents, see if everything's right with the documents, prepare everything, get everything ready before you actually go to the notary's office. But on the flip side of this, if you're using an agent, agents also know what's happening. An agent will know if the property they're selling has got problems with the documents, and they will tell you. You know, they will say to you, look, we know that this needs to happen, that needs to happen, and this needs to happen. It's going to take them a couple of months to do it, and it's all in process. They will tell you that. It's perfectly normal to sign a contract to say we want to buy that property, because the contracts have a clause in them that clearly says that the owners have got to get the documents all fully in order. It is a normal thing, and the agents will say to you, this is happening. This is going to be the owners passed away, passed it down to their children, and they're doing what they call a successione, which is passing it down to their kids. They all know it's got to be done before signing. It's just a normal thing. But I like to have a geometer in place. This is, even for me, is sort of a safety blanket, if you like. The agents will know, the notary will certainly know at the end, but try and find, if you're dealing with an agent, ask them if they use a geometer. Is there somebody that can give me a report about the documents? Can you tell me, Mr. Agent, are the documents in order? They will tell you. There's going to be loads of people on social media saying, no, don't ask them, because that's their job. That's what they do here. It's different to an agent in other places that have nothing to do with that. They know about the documents, so you need to ask those people. Michael's saying, I'm about to pay 10K for all the donkey work to be done for me. How much do you charge? Not 10K. That's the quick answer to that. Send us a message to info@homeanity.com and we'll tell you how we can help you. We don't give legal advice. We're not lawyers, but we know what we're doing. We've been doing it for a long time, and we know exactly what we're doing. So the geometer, somebody, hopefully you will choose us to help wherever you're buying, because we do make the whole thing much easier, because we speak your language, and we, as I say, we know what we're doing. I always use a geometer. I have him by my side. If you're going to buy a property, I will give all the documents to him and say, even though the agent's told me everything's in order, do a check on this for me, please. And they will do a check, and he will say, no, everything seems fine, or this needs to change, or that needs to change, and all the rest of it. So that's the little bit of complication in all of this. Everything else is simple. You've got your codice fiscal, you've got your FX person set up, you've got you understand how the money situation is going to work and all that kind of stuff. You found your house. The little bit of the gray area is that person that you're dealing with. How are they? You know, you've decided you're going to leave power of attorney. You've decided you're going to come back and sign. What is that person going to do for me? Is that agent qualified? Not qualified, but do they understand foreigners buying? You should be able to find all this out rather than just running into the office, signing on the dotted line and saying, I think that's it. I think we've done it. All we do now is just send money to them. No, you don't. There's lots more that goes off than that. And you don't send money to anybody until you know exactly what's going on. But so many people will do that because the agents just think, well, they should know what's happening because they're coming to buy a house. The agent doesn't know any different. You don't know any different. Then all of a sudden, the clock is ticking. So the little bit of gray area, that's where we work. That's us. We make that gray area not gray anymore. Because if you're feeling that the agent, maybe the language is not quite right, maybe there's something, I'm getting a little bit of cold feet about this, I'm worrying, you shouldn't have to worry about this process. You shouldn't have to worry about it because it's a great, simple process. So if you're not getting the right answers, ask the questions. I want to know if these documents are all in order. And the agent will tell you exactly what they found. If you're getting humming and hawing and a bit of, well, we're just looking into this, right, okay, this is where I need to find somebody. This is where you need to make a few different phone calls. So try and get these professionals, try and work with people that you really believe that you can trust. You may find it difficult. If you do find it difficult, you're going to have to reach out to us. I'm not just saying this to push us. I sit here on a Thursday night and I'm quite happy to answer questions when people email me. And I'm quite happy to give as much advice for free as possible. But sometimes, thankfully, people do use us for this. Pete saying, having just closed on a property with David, I can testify to how simple and stress-free the process was. Thank you very much, Pete. And it is true, because as I say, we know what we're doing and we do right by people. And I'm not saying agents don't, because they will as well. But you need to manage your expectations. Is this person, it's quite good fun when you're going around viewing properties and somebody's talking to you in broken English and you're having a bit of a laugh and the sun's shining, you found your dream Italian and you're practicing your bit of Italian and they're practicing their bit of English. It's good fun. But then all of a sudden, that good fun sort of disappears because then you think, no, I need somebody that can actually explain this to me. The other great thing is the safeguard is the notary at the end, because it's the notary that then checks everything live on the day. So let's say the documents are all in perfect order. The notary says to you, the agent said, everything's fine. We have all the documents. Everything is in place. We can do this as soon as you're ready. And they will give you all of these documents that will mean absolutely nothing to you, but ask them what they mean. Ask what what each one of these documents means to you. Okay. The notary said, they've said everything's okay. But now we're going to the notary's office. What does the notary do? The notary will double check it again live on the day, because when we check it or anybody else checks it, your lawyer checks it, your geometer checks it, whoever checks it, there's no debts on the property. Let's say you don't sign for another month or 2 months, anything could have happened. The person could have got into debt and all of a sudden the bank has put a hold on something in that property. So that gets checked by the notary at the end. They're the stages. That's exactly the stage. The notary then checks it live on that day. And they will say to you, I'm really sorry. If we get a phone call on the day of signing at 9 o'clock and it's the notary, you think, oh no, what's happened? Because the notary may ring and say, we've done a check on this. There's this debt on it. The act can't go ahead. That's life. But no, the notaries will do that. So that's your fail safe at the end. But you don't want the stress of thinking, what could happen? And you need to know all these things well before. Question is, can you ask a geometer for advice on renovation before committing to a property? Yes, you can, and people do. But remember, it's difficult for, we can give rough ideas on things. This happens quite a lot where people will say, I always say, if your budget is tight, then don't buy a property based on somebody saying, yeah, I think you should be able to, get it if you've only got 5K left or you're right up to your budget. Don't push things. Don't try and make something fit in but if it's going to be tight, look for something else. It's as simple as that. But yes, you can ask them for advice. That's the great thing about getting to know a geometer. And you will find that the vast majority of agents will have a geometer that they deal with, because it makes their life easier as well. It makes sometimes you get situations with property documents where it can't be sold. So obviously the agent's thinking about the agent's commission, as they would do, because that's what they're in business to do. But they need to sell the property to get that commission. So for them, it's actually good to have a geometer. So ask them. Some people will say on social media, Don't follow the agent's recommendation for a geometer, or don't follow Dave's recommendation for it. Why not? I've been doing this 15 years, finding people that are trustworthy and great at what they do to help you, not to help me, to help you. So why not listen to those recommendations? People are not always out to get you. If you're careful and you've got a good relationship with these people, and you know what's going off, the process is simple. And then, as I say, right at the end, you've got this notary that's doing all that. So what does the notary do once it gets to that stage? Eric's saying, what is the average geometer fee? Not all geometers will do following somebody to an act. My geometer at the moment now charges 595 euros. To me, is worth 5 times that. And 5 or 6 times that will probably get you a lawyer. I'm not saying don't use it. Please don't take that as I'm not saying don't use a lawyer. Lawyers are great for what they do, legal advice. I can't give you legal advice because I'm not a lawyer. I can just give you our experience and follow the ways that I do things. And I use a geometer all the time. So our geometer would charge that. If you just went to a geometer out of the blue, our geometer charges that kind of fee because obviously he's involved in everything we do. But if you just choose a geometer out of the blue, they may charge you 795, 895, somewhere around about that. I wouldn't have thought you'd pay more than €1,000. I would hope not anyway. But they're great. They're great to have, and you want your hand holding right to the end, and hopefully the geometry will be there at the end as well. There's nothing better when I see people, when we successfully help people get their properties, whether they're here or whether it's remote buying. I am in the notary's office with my geometer. So whether it's just us and I'm power of attorney, he is sat there next to me, and he's there from the start of the process to the end. That for me is a service, and we can sit there. We congratulate each other on a set, even though the client's not even there. They're probably asleep at the other side of the world, because we know we've done a good job for that person. That's what we do. That's what it's all about. But I'm not saying we're the only ones that do that. Obviously, there's lots of people that can help, and it's just getting that relationship. Don't leave it for the last minute. As I say, don't find that little bit of attraction of testing out your Italian. You're going to hit a brick wall after a bit of time. So you must get these contacts. Then quickly, let's say when we get to the notary office, what do they do? So you should be there, or you should have a power of attorney in place. You should, if you're there, you should have a translated act translated into your language, and you need a translator. So hopefully that translator is going to know something about the process, so they can then sit with you before you go to the signing and say, this is how all of this works. If you're not there, like most of our clients at the moment, I would say, are not here, we don't have to have a translator there because we speak English and Italian. So we can go and we can sign in Italian. That's not a problem. But when you're here, you need to make sure that you understand everything. And the notary will ask. So don't think you can sort of pull the wool over the notary, because if the notary thinks for 1 minute you're not getting what he's saying or she's saying, it will be thrown out, and that's it. So usually at the notary signing is either your power of attorney or you, and then the sellers, and then anybody else that may be representing you, such as a geometer or something like that. They don't have to be there. The only person that has to be there is the notary. The notary will read the contract out, usually in Italian, unless the notary speaks Italian and English. And then they will actually act as your interpreter at the same time. So they will read it out in both languages and make sure you understand everything, and then the documents get signed. That's it in a nutshell. There is a lot more that goes into it. But I think the thing that we spoke about before about, well, firstly about managing your expectations, but manage the people who you're dealing with. Really think about who you want on your side, because forget about what the social media mob talk about, saying it's horrendously complicated, tons of bureaucracy, a nightmare. Speak to my lawyer friend, he will help you through all of it, because it's not like that. You don't need me. The idea of having me is if you're thinking, well, I could do with somebody else on my side. You don't need a lawyer, but if you think I need some legal advice and all the rest of it, then go for a lawyer, whatever makes you feel better. But don't blame the process as to why you need people like me, because you don't. That's the reality. You need a notary, and that's it. Lorraine is saying, does the geometer do the structural inspection? If you want that, And some people do. I have lots of conversations about structural inspections. I have my feelings about structural inspection, and my feelings have never changed, even from the UK, because we had one done. We had to have one done in the UK because we had a mortgage on our property, on our first ever property, and it was a a report that I could have written myself, but it had to be done. Ed saying, does your geometer speak English? No, I know one that does, but my geometer speaks Italian. But there's never a problem because we're always there for translations. Yeah, so the structural surveys, for me, when they say structural survey, nobody's going to dig into the walls. Nobody's going to go down into the foundations. Nobody's going to go up onto the roof. I do know an architect that has some great stuff where some great, what's the word I'm looking for, some devices, some gadgets where he puts it up against the wall and it bounces signals through the wall so we can see what's inside the wall and all things like that. And it's all very technical, it's all very good. The vast majority of places, when you come here, you can see yourself. When we bought this house, we had a huge crack down one side of the house. I asked for a structural survey because that's what we did in the UK, and I asked them to do it. My geometer at the time, who was an ex-business partner of mine, said to me, that crack is there because of this, and it needs micropiling, underpinning. In this area, you're going to need X amount of micropiles, and that's what you're going to have done. Now, I paid for an extra surveyor to come out because I didn't know that guy from Adam, didn't know anything else. The surveyor came out, who I paid 800, 900 euros, wherever it was, and he said exactly the same as the other geometer. And it's so it's one of those things that people feel better about having these structural reports. Would I get one again if I was buying another house? No, I'm not telling you not to. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. But again, once if you've spoken to your agent, whoever it is, or if you was working with us and you said, Dave, I would prefer if the geometer will give us a structural report, they will do it. So many times my geometer will say tell them to save the money. I've been there. It's all right. They don't need me to write down that light switch wants changing and that radiator has got a bit of brown water coming out of it, so maybe there's a leak. You can see that yourself. But whatever makes you feel comfortable, that's the main thing. So the whole thing about tonight's streaming session is, as we say in the UK, get your, what do we say, Tony? Get your ducks in order. What is it? What's that saying? Get your, whatever it is. Get your ducks in a row. I've just remembered it. That means get the people you want to deal with in a row, ready for when you're here to make that big decision. And if you feel comfortable with them, then speak to them, trust in them, and trust in the system, and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what it's all about. If you start dealing with people that so-and-so said, I don't know, somebody said, use this person, or this person's bought 2 houses here and they know what they're on about, and you start going down this line of you know, this person said that, you're going into a gray area that's just going to get grayer and darker. Trust the people that you're with. Make sure they're registered. Make sure they have a business. Make sure they've got a VAT number and all that kind of thing. If you're dealing with an agent, make sure they're registered as an agent. It's all simple to find this information out. You can go online, you can look at the website and all of that kind of stuff. But get these people in a row. I've just seen somebody saying that they were looking for a property in, I think it was Noto in Sicily. I went there last year, absolutely loved it there. Do you have anything there? We don't at the moment. We are trying to get contacts all over Italy. It's finding people who I can really, really say to you, yes, deal with this person. But we can jump in and help at any time, and we do. Sometimes people will contact us before they contact the agent. The reason for that is, let's say you're going to, I don't know, you're going to Noto, you're going to Sicily. You found 2 agents that you like the look of. You're going to see some properties with them. Before you contact them, contact us. Contact us and say, Dave, we're thinking about these 2 agents. We've seen these agents. We want to see these houses. I don't want to make contact with them yet. And I'll tell you why. Because if we contact them, I'm not saying every agent will be up for this, but we're pretty good at convincing people to do this. We will contact the agent on your behalf and we will say, we've got a client that's interested in in coming and seeing properties, they're coming on these dates. We will send you this client. It's an English speaking client. Will you drop your commission to the person that's coming out, and just get the commission from the owners? And the reason for that is because I'm sending them a client. Yeah, so I'm sending them you. What we can then do is you can employ us for our services to buy the property and to see you through everything that needs to be done to buy that property. So what's happening is rather than paying that agent 3% plus VAT or whatever it is, we convince them to drop that fee and you use our fees, but then you've got us. We then work for you. That's what we do. That's what lots of people do. Some people will contact us after they've got their agent in place. Now, obviously, you've got to pay that agent as well. You've got to pay them a commission, but we can still work with him. We'll try and lower some of the fees. We will negotiate with some of the notary fees. We may question some of the notary fees, and we try and make our fee covered in everything because we've saved you in different places. So Lorraine is saying, if we find a house with a different agent, will you still deal with us? Of course we will, definitely. And some agents are really glad because they think, well, our English is not very good. We've no idea how to do a power of attorney. And all of a sudden, if we say, well, we're the power of attorney for this person, send everything to us, we can help. The agents are like, well, that's great, because that's easier for us. We just send everything to Dave or Silvana, and they will sort everything out. So it's sort of a win-win for everybody. But if you contact us before you go, then we'll have a go with the agents to say, look, any chance if I send you these clients that you don't collect commission from our clients because they want to use our services to buy? Can you just collect? And some agents will say yes. So it's sort of a win-win, and that's the area we try and get into, because it's good for you. Hopefully, you'll get the kind of relationship with us that you're happy with. Good for the agents because they know they can deal with somebody who speaks both languages, and we get the job done. We're coming in September. We would like you to hold our hands from start to finish and take advantage of your experience. We'll send you an email as soon as possible as we have found a potential property. Great. Absolutely no problem at all. This is what it's all about. This is why we like people watching these Thursday nights to think, you know what? Yeah, it's out of his area. It's not this, it's not that, but I feel comfortable there. That's what it's all about. But the sooner you get in touch, the better. Hopefully, you guys are going to be coming to Abruzzo and buying something through either our private sellers on the webpage or through some of our agents. We've got a couple of agents that we deal with that we trust, and they're fantastic. So hopefully you're going to come to Abruzzo and buy places here. But if not, if you're thinking we're going there, you're not on your own. We're here. If you've already contacted an agent and you're already sort of in the process, you will unfortunately have to pay the agent as well. That's the way it is. But if we can get in there before, there may be ways that we can help. Okay, so that was just pushing our services a little bit, which I'm allowed to do, aren't I, every now and then, seeing as though we do this every Thursday, free of charge and all that, out of the goodness of our hearts. No, we love doing it. Absolutely love doing it. Okay, guys, that's it. That's tonight's session. I hope that was helpful to you. Make sure you join next week because we are going to do a quick rundown on fees and taxes, and some of the fees, or should I say some of the taxes that you pay once you bought a house here in Italy as well. So we're going to show you how you can work out things like that. So that should be a great session as well next week. Let us know if you're interested in joining that tour. The info at A Home in Italy. Send us an email to that, and hopefully we can see you on one of the tours. I'll just take this last question. Tony likes to put things in just right at the very end. I have an old house to be restored, included with olive trees in the centre of Italy, less than 1 hour from Roccaraso, 40 minutes there to see. Could be interested for your activities. Send us an email. Absolutely happy to hear from you with no problem at all. Okay, guys. So yeah, get in touch. Let us know if you want to come on the tour. We'll be more than happy to see you out here, and keep looking at our YouTube channel because I've taken some great videos. No, that's showing me up too much. Not great videos, my usual videos. Done some great properties today, and I did some the other day. I'm going to be adding another property on Saturday. We usually do it Saturdays at 4 p.m. That's when we release some of our properties. I'm now going to move it to twice per week where we do our property video. So it's going to be Saturday and possibly Tuesday or Wednesday, not decided the day, where we release brand new properties on the channel. So make sure you click the subscribe button and click that little bell as well, because that will tell you as soon as new properties come on. So we've got some great stuff coming up, and that's it. Have a great Thursday evening. Have a great weekend coming up. And remember, it should be a pleasant process, not a stressful one. If it's getting stressful, then just take it easy and watch these Thursday night and send us an email if you're really stressed about something and you may be getting tight on time. I've got no problem with helping people as much as possible. Okay, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.